Hello, I'm John Fenn from the American Folklife Center, where I'm the head of research programs. And today I'm here with members of Alash, as well as Sean Quirk, their manager. Sean, can you tell us a little bit about your relationship to Tuva, and then introduce the band members?
Great, sure. Thanks, John. Thanks for having us here. It's really great to be here. The members of Alash are Ayan Shirizhik, who's next to you. This is Bady-Dorzhu Ondar, and Ayan-ool Sam. Alash has been a band. This is actually the 20th year of Alash as a band. So in the Tuvan language, it's pronounced Alash, but in English, either is fine, and I just tend to say Alash because I'm from Wisconsin originally. But Alash has been a band for 20 years. Ayan, Bady, and Ayan-ool all started playing music early on in their lives. So none of the band members are 40 yet, but the band has been around for 20 years. So that shows you how early they began playing as professionals. They were students of the great Ayan-ool Ondar, who was an extremely important figure in Tuvan music, not only as a great musician, but as somebody who was an ambassador for the music, who introduced audiences outside of Tuva to Tuvan music, including, of course, here in the United States. And Alash has been following in the footsteps of their teacher and other great Tuvan musicians over the last 20 years, playing music that is traditional, rooted in the Tuvan traditions, rooted in the music that everybody heard growing up, but yet at the same time is completely open to growth, change, different influences, and has been very successful with this format for the last 20 years. My relationship to the band is I went to Tuva on a Fulbright scholarship 16 years ago and to study the music. I was a music student, and I instantly became friends with Alash as well as other Tuva musicians who comprised the Tuvan National Orchestra during my Fulbright year. And having learned the Russian and then the Tuvan languages, having even begun to play in the orchestra during my Fulbright year, that inspired me to continue coming back to Tuva until eventually I got married and settled down, started as far as I know, the world's first Tuvan American family, and have been working with Alash and as their producer, manager, interpreter ever since. Helping Bady, Ayan-ool, and Ayan really to represent their culture, the culture that has adopted me around the world. So that's kind of where we're coming from today, and just in the aftermath of this wonderful performance we had this afternoon at the Library of Congress.
Great. So what I would love to hear is from each band member, so we'll start with you, Ayan. Sean mentioned you grew up with this music. If you could talk to me a little bit about what you first started learning. And then where you ended up.
Yeah, тавалап болот.
Харнам бичиг дургаш база школа өрөнд дургаштын. Өрөнд төрөстен школаның кодонгондук же тургана киржип ол өмөй сагат баштап турган. Ага киржип жап жорт тургаш өрөнд өмөй сагат 90 жылдар өрөнгөнмүн.
Амсаң соноргалың отуп кайга эңне бир баарында түнү өрүп турдум.
О, онам шу цагмайын турган тек шу цагмас турган. Эңне бир дуарында дейр болсо ханам. Эңне бир дуарында. Эңне бир дуарында болсо ханам ана элдер. Камдын туматтың жорба сагытын дыңнаш. Ойтештин дыжы оңунда жада тогбос тура оңан жалдыр чилеп. Оң жат турса өрөнт бир школаңмын дыжы аштып берген ар бар.
So it's hard to remember exactly what the first thing I learned when I got into music was. I remember being interested in music. I remember other kids in school talking about a new traditional music group that was going to form, a teacher coming to our school. But I really don't remember the first thing that I did. I don't remember how we started. I do remember hearing a recording, somebody putting it on a recording and saying, it was a guy named Tumat Gennady. And they said, "This is Sagut." And so that's, I have that memory. But couldn't tell you exactly what the first thing we did was when we started learning.
See, I first learned how to play trumpet, but I wanted to play guitar. So that's my first memory.
Başta Tuva öğrenip durdum. En yaklaşık ben çünkü gitar oynamak saptırdım.
Good. So let's hear from Bady. So earliest memories of the Tuvan music that you grew up with.
Oh yeah. Hugzumgu hamaskar. En de bir var yaklaşık mı? Hugzumgu hamaskar ya. En de bir var biçidir var yaklaşık mı?
Aldın yenge burada benim Hugzum dal koymaz at sonurgay bergesin de tek biçidir hem daha harım biz namaz 3-4-5 daha sadı. daim hasına ilgis gitarı da hazırlar kömele bütün ol onun ollar bir problemokta töndür kömele orlak basıktık baş jori var men çiğince onu da sonurgamı onu can ol kömele sıkıttı öğrenip jan ol yerde özüm şallandı kömele sıkıttı onu kasetteler tuvar de kolor çok durur ondan sonra açacağım takayın cencan olsa çağlattı var böyle çağlaca en çağlan çoğuldur yedi ol kasettasmasa takıp bergen onu sağlaş kündüğünde onu tanlar onu jada samcan biştipte anam şutupta hem çiğcaş diyor onu açacağım yerlerini açacağım bişip bere jol sözlerini koşmaktadır meneler öğret men çağlan yıldır
Açыңды hazırla деп болып тұрғанда.
Onu açacağımda hazırlar, bu işi bir hazırlar, bu medyayı sıkıntı tıp oldu. Açacağım udu tutmayın, onu daim jori var udu tutmayın, oturup kanka aldım da kömeyle kurtan açayım diyelim. O kömeyle bilmeseydim oğlum diye, çoğunum boradik da kömeyle tuşeydi, sen kömeyle beden demeye gidip, demeye gidip, yandır kömeyle indirir, o kadar bilirsin, nasıl kömeyle kasete de tutmayabilir dedi. Ben açacağımın canı durmadı.
You know, when I was really little, I mean, I've always, been into music as long as I can remember. And, 3, 4 years old, I had an uncle who would come over to our house with his guitar. And he'd sit down with his guitar and he'd open up his notebook and he had all these songs. And he would do the notebook from front to back and he would sing these songs and he would be using kume as part of this. And I loved that. I would sit there next to him and just soak it up. To the point where I got so much into music that I wanted to hear recordings. But at that time, in the 80s, in Tuva, finding a recording of traditional Tuva music was really difficult. So I just kept begging my dad, and he finally found one tape of the Tuva Ensemble, and I would just listen to that over and over again. And I got so into it that I would go and wake my dad up at night and ask him to do hume, because I thought all adults could do this. And so I go, Dad, come on, please do the hume for me. And he said, no, son, that's your Uncle Radik that does that. And I'd say, please, just do a little bit or whatever. And so he'd kind of like fake do it, and I'd be like, oh, see, you're doing it, Dad. You're really doing it. Because, I didn't have a frame of reference. So, yeah, that's some the really earliest musical memories.
So, Ayan-ool, what about you?
Яхан чидурндала ваза ва адемнин мажыл керенин айылы. Чидурндала кырган адемнин анга аттырар тургана. Жаштын амала олар болсам кырган атчам үргүлжүң. Мен аңгой ортпа шыңырлар. Кошмактарлар мен onu тыңдап недер өспейм болуп койдум. Раны сиңерге мага.
Kind of the same thing with me. When I was little, my parents were often very busy with work. And because of their work, there would be times when I would have to go to my grandparents. And my grandfather was musical. And he would always sit me down and sing for me and play music for me. And I think, that's the earliest memory I have of listening to live music. And that's probably where the interest came from.
Are the three of you from the same part of the Republic of Tuva? Or did you grow up in different areas within Tuva?
Different area.
Yeah, different.
Do you bring your musical traditions and culture from those different areas together in this band?
이제 거중 부르는 안 간데 그 헤이블레라 바드레 거중 부르는 안 간데 아얀나르 바드레 올 아얀나르 보고 그때 저들 같이 들어야서 어디가 이제 보더스터
좀 көмежи киши бир өзүнүн боттанын аңгы болдун тусай аяны турар барама. Амстер болсо колдуула төрттүнгөн өскөн жерлерибиз болсо, төрттүнгөн жерлерибиз болсо аңган оң сөөрүндө школа, өрөнүп кетпейди болсо шуп жаңы төпкө жетпейди. Төпкө өрөнүп жадап турган колдуула олдун көмеси кыттын кол ол билдиңер устарының болсо кожмактарын ырлашып жадап турган шуутландык аңгы бистердин жерлери болсо мең суурумдун Ayan-ool'дун болсо
ол кожумдун аяны, ол устун аяны.
Мындай жок мана оп, мындай жерлер.
Эрдин устарын жадыр көмелеги. We don't have necessarily so much of, certainly every kumeji, which is a name for a performer of Tuvan vocal music, every kumeji, of course, is going to bring their own background in terms of, everybody has a different sound and everybody has a different personality in terms of the music. But we all came together fairly young age in the central capital. So,
Okay.
you know, when you look at Tuvan music as it exists nowadays, you don't necessarily see a whole. There's not as much of a delineated difference between regional styles.
Okay.
Like, oh, this is a southern style and this is a western style. It's more like everybody's all in the same pot, and each individual singer kind of has their own way of doing it. So for Alash, it's more about everyone bringing their own personality to it, and everyone having come together in the capital of Tuva at a young age to start the group.
Okay. And this has been the same lineup since you started the band?
Alash'tың ол музыкантлар ол хеведер бе, ол эгезинен ол музыкантлардыр бе.
Эгезинде да көйдүр оны жойнап бегелеп турганам хөгжим коллежинге кылдым да көй. Сонда жорту Zellan boyaga jedir. Bozam ustun mejörüstün botlarının zellan amadralın baydalı olsa. Yandır botlar angı bölükte başlar ama bunda artık bağımız bu jüle artık bağımız.
So, yes, all three of us are original members of the band, but when we started the band, there was a lot more people in it. When we started the first year, everyone was going to school together for the first year of music college.
Yangılır bezin şu alış oynatmamız.
We even had two different MCs. You know, we had because we had 12 people in the band.
We wouldn't all fit on the stage.
Yeah, you couldn't fit on the stage. So you had two different groups. But you know, over a period of time, some people dropped out because they weren't interested enough. Some people went off to start their own groups. You know, some people went into other areas of education and then on to different professions and stuff. So these, the three of us are what is the distilled essence of that.
Okay.
And, you know, as an interpreter, this is we've had a trio, it's been 7 years since we went to the trio format. We did have a fourth musician earlier, but yeah, all original.
Excellent. Now, I know that earlier during the concert, you each demonstrated a different style of the vocal music. But do you each perform other styles of that music, or is that a specialty for?
Хевер күсәдеп тордың анам. Жом кежи берзе шупто хомей сага шуптозун күсәдер бе аза. Чуда чаңгыз кежи чаңгыз хомедер ола бе.
Шуптозун эле, онда биринин жалана икки болдум, хевер аза турар болсун.
Yeah, you know, most people will perform many of the different styles. And, you know, but you also have people that are known because they're particularly good at one or the others. You know, for instance, in our band, Bady can do everything, you know, but he's particularly good at kengirge, so he ends up doing the lower style a lot.
Okay. You do a mix of what we might call traditional songs, as well as composed songs, newer songs that maybe you have written. Has that been the case since the band started, or did you start off doing more traditional?
Иргидә улустың ырлары да бар, баттарыңның жогатқан ырларыңа да бар. Тәсеңсләрдә бичи холмак бар утыр. Эгелеп тургаштың базын ди тургаштыр бе, бу чокта жаап баттарыңа жогады эгелериңер бе. Ол инчен эгелеп турыңарда репертуарыңның кайры чингене улустың ырлары, кайры баттарыңның ырлары, ол процесс кандай болду?
Ол эгелеп турса бери колду да алдым, улустың ырларын, улустың ол жерле эргиде озонду ырлаттым, билдимейм аргандырладыр орма. Амдыганды ырларын дешам жок. Жаа ойнап деп турар эргежелер билдир ырларысты. Озо ойнап шенеп деп турар оны. Коллажам биздин адам колеса, хөгжүн колежиңе жаа өйрөнүп кирип келген тургансыздар, жорамчыл улустун өзүн желеп оң сонда жорту карынан ап чийлеп деланады хөгжүн хажымны шенеп бана бижип желеп дегелейин бот турар.
In the beginning, we didn't have as much original stuff in our repertoire because as any beginning musician, you're going to start with what's there already. You're going to work with what's there already. And for us, we have, you know, this really rich background of, there's tons of traditional music. We were looking for songs that were part of the traditional canon, but that maybe had not been sung, for instance, was one of our goals early on. So, you know, in the beginning, as we're just trying to get a handle on the music, it was proper for us to learn the standards, as it were, to learn the folklore that's there. And then over time, we began to start to experiment with our own sounds, with experimenting, making our own melodies and that kind of stuff. So that was definitely a gradual process. You know, again, you know, adding a editorial note in brackets. I mean, even over the course of 13 years of working with the band, I've been able to watch the amount of change from less to more in terms of stuff that's original in the program versus stuff that's from, coming from traditional canon.
When you're making an original piece, I have so many questions about this, but how do you decide which vocal style or styles to include in an original piece?
And they go to the child, all sheet put in a jargle po, manga who made hashers, a manga sagat hashers, a manga kagrala, a boraga kagra hash post, next to all a jogator depthringer, the all sheet put in a janjar colors, the janjar bodars, the who may sagat the janjar or the janjaras glarin, to the process, tuning bodal of a hammer.
Bir olcanın sözlerde çüydü oyundadır başta yollarının sözünün utqazın bile ağzında çoğuttu oynat durgaç bolsa taşbasın dыңнат durgaç bolsa жалдыр Lergan bir kömey sığıt oyundadır lat durgan bolsa ana duraş qaralar қолдаяныр сөздің utqazın жегер болып тұрады.
Başta sözlerin görüp durur. Ağzında çoğurttu. Ayaldazı kandıktır. Keyveri kandıktır. You know, the process with that, deciding, okay, what parts of the vocal repertoire are we going to use? It starts with, first of all, looking at the lyrics. What's the song about? Okay. You know, if the song is about sagut, then you're not going to just throw kargara in there. You know, you're going to put sagut in there. So the first thing you look at is the meaning of the song, and how you can, how the music is going to fit to that. The second thing you look at is the melody and the music, and what is it a slow song? Is it a fast song? Is it a sad song? Is it a happy song? And playing the melody, singing the lyrics, singing the verse, and then by doing that, then you just start to get a feel for what's appropriate, what's going to fit artistically, and what maybe wouldn't fit.
Which I'm guessing matches the tradition.
Yeah, I'm all there. And check with us. All child, large of gathering or the middle star basel. All chingane, all changslar dying of us thing to the Isler. Tizebo, Kagra, Hajas, the Gamchuki Kagra, which is Omen, the Skalos, Larga, Kagra, Barbotra. Testing and the bottle barter, so got to ring at the middle and the Pojevespo, Arangelov, all got trust, they get the middle, all the changsal done in all changsal, one, all chingane, done in.
Sajani, I will jogat, but the buzzer tell the course and a mapodon. The lever Karalas or Lagos or Kandu, Karanum was all. The little Yapazon and Anna Kurturgas was all Jana the muscle, the relation, and all Jana Kurtur was all the English thing. Homega was the kind of the Jelder Bolden at the all in heavy learning was all Jason Kurtur was I wasn't.
So yeah, I mean, of course, it's natural that the way that we're thinking about the music is going to be based on, the way we learned and the traditions. There's also another factor in terms of when you're looking at composing a new melody, you should be aware of which of the vocal styles, if any, that you're going to use, because each of the vocal styles also has its own particular range. And so you want to be aware. It's okay. I'm going to be doing this with the karkara. I know that I can't hit that note, so I need to keep it within a particular note range. So there's the very much orchestration type of consideration that has to go in there as well, where you look at the different styles of vocal music, much like instruments in an orchestra, that, this has this timbre and this can fit within this range, so I'm going to use it here.
Okay. So we've been focusing on the vocals. I also want to hear about the physical instruments you played, not just the vocal instruments.
Definitely, yeah.
And so when I look at the credits on your albums or on the webpage, many instruments are listed for each of you. But today you each only played one.
Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of time today, so we kept it simple.
So you have to choose.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know, if we had played, for instance, the whole album or something, then we would have had a much fuller panoply of Tuvan instruments.
So let's go with the selection you chose today then.
Because was boken ойнап тұрған кәсәдері де ойында бичи тайбылап бәйестер бе?
Диам кеңгірге дейір болса, ана елдер ақбейір болса, 13 векті чingine жетіп бөген қылдар санап тұрар болып тұрар. Төвіттерінің жүлгәзі білі қартегі қылған қылдар санатын тұрар. Амжақ берге оғымын долыстарына тыңнағарға ол хүрелерінің ол кештері базы пічі өске тұрғаны дейіл оя. Анамдаған дайыл. Бізде ол замдана серге кештері, не серге кеші. Жашпырмаған қанжа мағандана өрік баған болып тұрар.
So my instrument, one of them is the kengirge. It's a big drum. It traditionally we believe that it comes from about the 13th century when people from Tibet, missionaries of Buddhism, began entering into Tuva, and so sometime after that, people's temples were being constructed, lamas were having more influence, and the kengirge is a drum from that tradition.
Okay.
So that comes from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. They maybe had used different skins, and they maybe were building the drum in a slightly different way. Our drum has no kind of glue or metal or anything like that. The skins are all held on just by, they're wrapped with, wrapped together. So that's a drum that we use in our band, and it's called kengirge.
Ja, men hojum bugün oynat turan hojum herkese igilde ramol olsam atqa olsa turasqa atqan hojum bolup turadi aşağı igilde oynasa toğulurgu juğalar köy adam igilde oynar dergem igil körgem han ne kıldık je nam jalsa da ol özüň oynar sözü kuluk bolup turar ama ol Bankanlı tebillerle oynar, soğutuzga yezi, ünleri, şuktuzu, baylak belgen bottur. Yaştın ama ol kövzümde o zaman bokunga jedir, bizlerin amekkezi kövzüm gereksedi, yaşlı geç, bok kişi bir üzünün bodunun jelergem uzun kişi o zaman ben uzun kıdır azak olsa men şala jolda ittir kılıp berem deştin. Kılıp bererlerge jağıttırarınga ındık oran amjeleri bu. Skriptlar kıldırındı жаңғыз
Sanatmana çok da
çok. Ya bokunga yedir şalı hever artık mağam bolup duran. Onda jağalı bozu qadı tıplı kıldır.
So the instrument I was playing today is called the igil. It's got 2 strings on it. You look at it, it looks like a simple instrument, but it's an instrument that has an amazing musical range because each of the strings is made of a large number of individual strands of horsehair. It's got a very small skin face on the front of it. The instrument, as you saw in the performance today, is dedicated to the horse, so it's got the horse's head on top. And it's very important also to build the instrument out of larch wood, which is technically a softwood tree, but it's a very hard wood.
Okay.
And that is the igil, and fascinating for the fact that it's very simple looking, but as you heard, it has a really rich range of musical sounds that it produces.
Yeah, some of the harmonics and the overtones you were making were stunning.
Ол скрипканың ойны жеді жоғалы бар.
Oh, and then the other thing that is that unlike musical instruments like a violin or a viola or a cello, in Tuva, the musical instruments are not made to a standard gauge. So the igil is an example of this. So every person either makes their own instrument and makes it according to their physical features, or if you have somebody else make it for you, they're gonna make it according to what's comfortable with you. And so this is an important thing that we still have in Tuva. We don't have any standardization. There's no, your igil needs to be 104 centimeters long and 13 centimeters wide and everything. Everybody has their own that fits to their own sound.
So did you make yours?
No.
Friends made it. It's good to have friends that can make you yield. All right, so let's hear about the other
Ya
instrument.
menің ойнаған hojum деген doshpuluur. Ол болсам қолды үйдекчи, жаңғыстың үселдесінде болсам тусқа жараш қылдыр көстірі. Чағында болсам не қылды тұрғанам үйенің айы өлі сайзырақ бейіні өлем 3 тарғылды немек бен ол жүлде ерге чабыс қыл болып тұрыр. Adam bölük oynarı o diye bazı bölük oynarı o zaman tarımcılık kıldır okman. Yani oldu olmazı at başlı kıldır kılırap barganam Boyada olsam жылдыр тыңнарға қолды аттың жоруын болса ойнап тұрар. Ол тоға көзімгедек тазыр болып тұрар.
So my instrument is called the doshpuluur, or the instrument that I played today in the concert is called the doshpuluur. It's built from larch wood and skin as well. Also has a horse's head on it. Traditionally would have only had 2 strings that are tuned a fourth apart. But again, over the changing of the times, and especially as Tuvan musicians started to play more in ensembles, musicians added a 3rd bass string. So that's an octave lower than the higher string and a 5th lower than the center string. And this gives the instrument more range, and more of an ability to play a bass function within the ensemble arrangements. And especially nowadays, you hear the horse rhythm a whole lot on the instrument. So there's a very direct connection to horses there, in the sense that you are kind of getting different gaits out of the instrument in the same way that you would get a different gait from a horse. And that, of course, makes sense, because a horse's gait is a rhythm that's going to stick with you for a long time after you get off the horse.
And did you make your instrument?
조금 oldu da bu istin işleriz.
Our friends, we have a whole workshop out back of the Tuvan Cultural Center where our friends make instruments.
And that's where you go for repairs?
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Now, so you perform all over the world, you tour and play many different venues. If we were back home in Tuva, what kind of venue would we hear your music in?
In one way, you could say you could hear Tuva music anywhere in Tuva.
This is true, yeah.
Жигодерзе шынан, жигодерзе бичи бистің көмей сағыт дейіргі. Бистің бұл уран жүйілісті оғы шын жinginde төзінде базылында бар болуштың. Ол саралықты да айтыр, көрден чүс бежен бичи инекпе, еттен дадық дейіш бады. Жаптан жем көрден чүс бежен бичи ол жетпе дейіргі. Ол безін шілттінген кейірікпен дұш кешейін. Сақтырма шілттін кешкейді.
Жанам doğanın dengmelini ozandı. Kisan ulalır ozanın tıkayık.
Öğe de adına bulur.
So in one sense, it's kind of a joke to say that you could hear the music anywhere, but it's also true. It's so much a part of the fabric of our culture that it is everywhere. For instance, we have every year a competition for young kids doing Khume, Sagat, Karkara. And last year we had to have auditions just to get the participants down to 150. And that's pretty amazing when you only have 300,000 people in the whole republic, that you've got 150 children who are going to participate in this competition. So in one sense it is true, it's everywhere. But of course you could also go to a concert hall and hear it, but you could also go to your uncle's herding camp and hear it there. So
근데 없더라. 비슷하게 좀 지어서 일들 이틀에 익스프레스 살아도 서로다부터
and we support the children's competition, and we're appearing everywhere. So in a lot of ways, basically the same places you would think you would see music anywhere.
Which I think is important to underscore.
Absolutely. I mean, traditionally, people were playing music in yurts. People are playing music outside. The acoustic properties of yurts, for instance, are something that I think needs to be even more fully studied. The longer I live in Tuva, the more I'm convinced that this music is absolutely ideal to be listened to inside of a yurt.
Again, like that integration with sort of daily life.
Yeah, and with all the sounds that are going on, we were talking about making an album where we just go out to a herding camp and everybody just goes about their daily lives, and the cows are being milked and the sheep are being sheared and everything, and we're just sitting there on the fence playing music, and it's all mixing in with the sounds of the herding camp. I think that would be an interesting way to really show people how how connected the herding way of life, the nomadic way of life, and the music are.
And so one thing that is, I think, especially fascinating about Alash is you've collaborated with a lot of different people. Many different kinds of artists.
Alash'ın bürütek tuzkayısı onca der tek artistlerle hangi artistlerle bazı kadar daha
Yep.
Is there a particular collaboration that stands out for each of you that caused you to think differently about your own music or about the possibilities?
Pavaytırını men keşi birinde sağdırmen. Sizlerim o hamık bu kadar kökjümler arasında sizlerge bolsa tıkoluk indege tuzalık bolgan tıkoluk ça indege bidigler çedirgen indege artistler vardır ve o sizlerin de kadar artistler arasında indege sizlerge tıkoluk sağdarlı bolgan. O kadar olası çok fazla sizlerin kökjümge hamılar körüşünge biçide yoskittikken azı bileceni öğretken deyiniz kasan.
Е, ам бар болсалам бол дэң бол аклар спортчу бол Теннессиде аклар сан эш
Nashville.
Нэшвиллде ал дэң бол Bella Fleck on Futureman том Виктор Вудтан дэштин ангандык өжүлөр базатта көйүндүк жана бизтерге берген эс ханам диган көргөн биз көргөч оо божомду жедирле деп жана.
Yeah, for us, one of those collaborations that was extremely informative was with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, all of our friends that live in Nashville, Future Man, Victor Wooten, Jeff Coffin. Each one of those musicians really taught us a lot, you know, over the course of our time collaborating with them. So that's the first thing that would pop to mind.
kel anandı pedik tengnel pocuktum bolsa högümnүң bolsa bazatın pedik tengnelin görüp baza çaa jörlük bazını şıra högümcüler tускай болуп турат. Боженин айылгалары, боженин көгүжүм керексели билак аттай көмөсө кытта тутуштурарга аза тускай чараш болуп турат.
Yeah, it produces a really special and beautiful result that's also eye-opening when you have the ability to collaborate with some of the finest musicians that the Western world has. Working with those guys who are masters of their art and everything, it opens up a whole new world, creates a beautiful sound of music, and helps you to learn something yourself about your own relationship to music.
Well said.
Listen to all of them.
Are there either artists or other musical traditions that you haven't collaborated with yet that you would like to bring your tradition into dialogue with?
Amdızında kada ajlava nostrangar parbe dikçe jedu ol eski kökjümlerine eski jurtlarını görgersin. İyi ostar bile ajladan bozdu ki kidap dige artistlerin parbe sizlerin dige kada ajlak saptıra uzungar parbe.
Ханам
Usta evet bozdu.
ханам жогом ана элдер канчап ханам болурняна жelle турарнян Майкл Джексон дурун болсо Майкл Джексон да жорлоп.
Yeah, if Michael Jackson was alive, you know, we'd love to
You have a hologram.
Yeah. Чөп болбос деп.
Hologram bile oynap bolur.
Yeah,
Yeah, why not?
Sky's the limit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Onun kadar.
Onun ana eldir.
Sarındık. Onun aykamlarındık. Sizlerindік тежендік. Қымда шыды бақ болу тұрған.
Жахан жома онай кымда эбес да озана эле хөгүжүмдүлөр амда иңдерге. Ийден яштын челе канды да хөгүжүмдүлөр ойнар болот. Челе доми ас кежи.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't put a name on it. It's great to play with everybody. There's lots of different kinds of music in the world. There's stuff that we don't even know about it. And every time we get a chance to collaborate with somebody else, it's a real great joy.
Американын бир жези бар ама текиндик бу журттун хөгүжүм талазы биле үстек шыгыраак болуп турат. Өскө журттарга одарга. Түгөдө мындан көрдөнөм Африкан бөлүктөрдөн келиш. Jazz, rock, popsa, шутту бар ойномодон. Ода биздер базанда өткөрөзөндө алар. Анда Ананган шупту бу телегейни бажы көгүжүнөрү бар болуп турат мында бу журтта.
One of the really great special things about America and being able to work here in America is that America is a home for lots of different kinds of music, and you have the ability to interact with all different kinds of musicians. You know, jazz musicians, African musicians, you know, any, you know, classical musicians. It's all here, and here we are too.
Yeah.
We even got
Alash
Tuvan music running around, you know? So,
And
you
we're
know,
grateful for that.
yeah, and we are too. Yeah, it's really great to be able to come to a place that is such a, you know, so full of diverse music and musicians.
So I know you all met in school, and so you went through musical education, so you were students. Are you now teachers? You said you sponsor youth competitions. You work to teach?
Maybe maybe more sponsors, like no teacher.
You're too busy on the road, huh?
Yeah, busy also. Sometimes we have time, when we have time, we like teach kids,
Okay.
when we have time.
So the youth that are coming to the competitions and that you're seeing, where are they learning? Are they learning in traditional ways from uncles?
Tosararaqtagi dostlarni degan başqalari qamol, ana ba'zida haylarni o'tirib degan başqalab turishlar bor. Ол бичи, олдар элейди, олдар чаштар канчадыр өйрөнүп аптыр.
База башкалар школаларда базанды база бөлгүмдөрдө базанды ол чөкөлөрүн желеп бул бичи оолдар база көбөдөптүр.
Мана голдулу өрөнү ар дейлгели киши боду бичи кишинин көмөй сыгытты үндүраш кээрге башкалары deyil 10 жана эдик жазап ол кебирлерини аңгыларында өрөтпөй голдулу өндүп отурман.
Я бичигин боду баштай сонургап жана эстең алымды баш.
Шул шаш нек бар олуна өрөдүр сонурган жок деп жазып берди ама. Ол жана
Боттары илреттип турабыздар, ол көмөй сонургап турсын авалаш. Баштыр башкалар. In one sense, all these kids that are coming to the competition, they generally have teachers. In the sense of you have, in Tuva and Mora days now, certain schools will have like extra credit, like outside of school time, music groups doing Tuvan music. So most of these kids now that are coming to the competitions, not all of them, but most of them have teachers and they're involved in one of those music groups in one way or another. However, the thing with learning Tuvan music that hasn't changed is that these teachers aren't just taking random kids and you know making them perform. You take kids that have already started, and because that initial step, like Bady was talking about, it starts with you. And so they don't take kids who don't have any. They take kids who've already shown an interest by. They're already doing it, and then the teacher's job is then to take that kid and to help them refine their technique. But that important first step of getting into it is usually left up to the learner.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I want to see if you had any questions or if I missed anything important.
Жети 10 айттыр салбадыңар.
There's about 10 questions you didn't ask.
I'm sure that.
Joke.
But yeah, I very much thank you for your time and thank you for coming to the Library of Congress and visiting us and performing for us and talking with us. So
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Come back.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
All right.